So pill bugs, otherwise known as roly-polies, are now in Grounded. I'm going to show you guys how to beat them, obviously how to find them, and are their armor pieces really that good? Let's go. So if you head over to the trash heap, this is where you'll find the majority of them. There is another location which I'm going to show you, but head towards where you see all the green hoses, and even before you get into the trash zone, you will be able to find one. This is one of 4 locations you'll find the pill bugs, right by the very edge where you can see the tap, pressed up against the wall next to all the garbage bags. Here's the location on the map. Next, you've got to go deeper into the garbage zone, pretty much where you see the lid with all the food on top of it, in and around past this can of drink. This is where you might find another one. These guys are pretty tough to find sometimes. You might find them a bit more in the jungly area towards the actual fence, but here it is on the map. The third location is by the picnic table. You can see it's here, just pretty much bang in centre of the middle. Again, in a quite jungle dense part. The only thing that's kind of giving you a reference is the can of drink again, and you want to aim towards between the can of drink and the table. And finally, right by the side of the sandbox against the fence where all the orb weavers are, that's on one side. You can find mount piles, and that leads you to a lot of clay. I do believe a molar. On this side, a bit more safer, is another pill bug. Now this is quite hard to fight because they do roll around and it's quite an enclosed spot. In fact, let's start going over how to defeat them. So let's start with the basics. Do not use hammers to try and take on the pill bug. In the past, some creatures do respond well. You can stun them quite easily and you can take them down. Now the pill bug roly-poly can be stunned, but it takes a significant amount more than you would think, and it's just going to be way too slow trying to use a tier 2 hammer. Forget any sort of daggers that give chopping damage as well. You can see it barely does any damage, and even if you're poisoning them, they have a healing ability, which they do when they're rolled up, so it's pretty pointless having this. Instead, you want to focus on clubs and slashing damage with a 2-handed sword, the antlion sword. Now it's pretty hard to get hold of that one with the brand new update in the early stages, but if you are lucky enough to get one, it's pretty OP. The tricks are not to hit the pill bug when it's actually rolled up. It's going to be rehealing and you just won't be doing enough damage to it. Save your stamina. I tested this a bunch in a live stream for 2.5 hours with different bugs, and now I'm going to show you how to do it legit. You are going to need a fairly decent armor set, something like the ladybug armor, to withstand a hit, because it will take nearly most of your health if it manages to hit you once. You can see I'm slashing away. I've got a spicy sword here, and look how much I kill it in just a few hits. If you are using a 2-handed sword, you might go for Parry Master, and you may want to make sure you've got the stamina perk as well as the coup de grace. The trick with them is to get at least 3 hits in and then move aside. It usually does just one roll up but won't go around everywhere. Then go back in for a couple more hits and hopefully you can get enough in before it does its forward rolling attack. You can see it did hit me and I'm pretty low on health here, so it looks like I am going to get done, but he's pretty low himself. So a few more hits and it's done. Now maybe you're continuing your game and you haven't actually got the antlion sword yet, as it's fairly new, then you can go ahead and use either of the 2 big mallets, the mint mallet or the broodmother one. All the tools I'm using here are max upgraded though to level 7, so do bear that in mind. But I'm going to show you how to take one on with just an ant club. And if you have got the mutation for the clubs, then make sure you equip that as well. But you can see just a few hits and I've already nearly done him. Just run around and get well away from that. Hopefully your stamina's built up enough in time. If not, just keep your distance. If he's moving and rolling, his health isn't actually regenerating. It's only when he stays still and rolls that he regenerates his health. And they're nearly done. You can see I took him out. Now that was max level upgrade 7 with the mallet. Now the mallet doesn't actually apply fresh mint damage. Once you start upgrading it, you actually replace it with mighty damage. That's the conclusion I've come to, because when I've tried fresh arrows, salty arrows, they weren't doing that much damage against the pill bugs. These are feather arrows with a tier 7 upgraded bow, and you can see I'm doing a fair amount of damage. It's about half a grid with each shot. Now let's move it over to some of the others like the mint and the salty, and you'll notice that I'm barely doing half a grid, maybe just a bit under. So salty and fresh damage definitely don't do as much as mighty and spicy. Here you can see the salt ones, and again it's more or less only taking just under half a grid, maybe not even that much. Now let's try with spicy arrows and look how much damage it will do. Nearly a full grid. I would say it's about 80 to 85% damage you're doing with just that one. Gas arrows work well, obviously, but they do move around pretty rapidly, so they could get out of the way of the gas. And so poison arrows could potentially give you a bit of a bonus before wading in with a melee weapon. But I would say you don't really want to be trying to take these guys on with arrows either. I was only highlighting that their weaknesses are spicy and mightiness, and their strengths are they can handle fresh and salty. So take a look at what I can do with a level 7 Ant Club, so it is max upgrade in spice. Look how much damage I do with the first hit, nearly more than a whole grid. So obviously just run away, let him do his first attack after you've got 2 or 3 in. You'll get another couple in before you have to hopefully replenish your stam. Don't panic and don't try hitting him when he's bowled up like that. You will not be able to power through and take his damage. You should be regenerating your stamina. Go in for more and hopefully he's not doing an attack where he's trying to run you over. Although it is fairly easy to avoid most of the time. If your stamina has gone low again, you do maybe want to move out of the way. You can see it goes forward, it will go back. It does do a huge amount of damage though when it does hit you. You can do it in succession as well, and that caught me out that time. But you should pretty much be able to avoid his attacks, and just don't panic if he is healing up. It's only if you're trying to use something pretty rubbish against him, like I said, a one-handed blade or a spear. Do not use any kind of stabbing spears. You will be there all day, you will not be able to defeat one, not without a lot of time and patience. Use any type of mallet or club, or if that fails, go ahead and see if you can get the two-handed antlion sword. Now the Salt Star is okay, it can do some stun damage on him, and it is a one-handed weapon, so you can use a shield with it, but it still took around 40 hits when I tested it in my live stream. If you haven't got enough spicy shards, because they're some of the hardest to get hold of, then you could go ahead and still put fresh or salty on your antlion sword, and it is going to do some additional damage for sure. But you would be better upgrading an antlion sword all the way with quartzite rather than spicy to take on these guys. And a bit like a ladybug, they do have one more side attack where they'll kind of side swipe you, so you've got to be on the lookout for that one, as that does a fair amount of damage too. It is possible to parry, and as long as you've got a decent weapon, you should be able to do so without taking any damage. But if you're like me and a bit rubbish at parrying, yeah, you definitely want to end the fight as quickly as you can. I saved it to last because it is quite cheesy, but if you've got for bratburst, you can go ahead and lob them, but you've got to make sure you lob them pretty quickly, because otherwise this happens. If you don't lob all 4, he'll pretty much go into a ball and re-heal after the first 2 explosions, so you might get lucky and even manage to kill him when even you die. There isn't a large selection of other bugs near the pill guy, so you're not going to be maybe luring him against spiders, apart from maybe them orb weavers if you manage to get them, but it's quite a climb to get them over. Or likewise, you might be able to get some of the infected ladybugs to come near the picnic table and take care of one, possibly. But otherwise, you're going to have to fight these guys yourself. No more luring ladybugs all over the place to take on spiders, etc. And so what about the actual armour that you can craft once you've defeated a few of these guys? So basically you've got more chance of actually applying stun damage while defending or blocking using it. You might not even necessarily need the perfect attack sometimes to get some extra stun damage on creatures. It won't mean you take that much less damage though. It is a little bit stronger than Ladybug armour. It seems very similar, but you can still get shredded pretty easily wearing it. And at the moment, the cost to repair it seems to go down a bit quicker than some of the other armours, or simply because there's only 4 spots or 4 of these creatures at any one time, it's going to be harder to maybe get all the items to keep repairing it. And the invincible shielding, that actually repairs your shields while you're using it. Check out what happens when I take on some orb weavers and I'm holding the shield. You'll notice it doesn't go down one single bit, even though I'm using it to parry and defend. It's also pretty decent, obviously the ant shield, but the bonus effect of my armour means that the shield basically doesn't get damaged. Now at first I thought you had to do maybe a perfect parry, but I couldn't really notice at any point the shield going down, even when I wasn't doing perfect parries. Obviously when I did, I was stunning the orb weavers pretty easily. I'm also using the one weapon that you need some of the roly-poly parts to craft, which is the salt mace. You will need roly-poly parts to make this one. So a really great combination using the black ant shield, the mace and the roly-poly armour. As I said, great for people that don't necessarily rely on perfect parrying all the time. This is a great alternative. So really built for being a tank proper class. It is going to be heavy armor, so it is going to be a bit more difficult to move around, but still great armor for me specifically. Remember, all heavy armor now means that your stamina takes much longer to regenerate. So using it with a one-handed weapon instead of two-handed is definitely the way to go. Doesn't look like you can use any of the parts to go ahead and make any food recipes as of 2 days before the update launch for everyone. So maybe in the future they'll add it to some tier 3 meals, and that's about it. Use the roly-polies to go ahead and get the armor. Get that extra shielding buff if you're not good at parrying. When you're facing them, make sure you're using spicy or mighty on whatever weapon you've got, and try to aim to have a club, a two-handed sword, and they're the better weapons. Don't use hammers and don't use spears or bow and arrows. And certainly don't use chopping damage. It will reheal itself too quickly if you're trying to do any of them. Hope this video has been useful to you. If it has, leave a like, leave a comment, and I'll see you right back with some more grounded content very soon. Bye bye.